Sometimes, as audiences, we fail to appreciate a good film when it gets released because occasionally it's way ahead of its time. Constantine fell into that category. It's one of those movies that you randomly watch and it blows your mind. And the next thing you know, more people are joining in the same crowd and boom, it becomes a cult classic. Constantine's journey from receiving mixed reviews initially to becoming one of the most successful films of Keanu Reeves on streaming platforms needs to be studied. So, the moment you get the news of a sequel to a classic like Constantine, well, of course you delve into the depths of it. So, let's dive into everything we know about the upcoming Constantine film.
Hi, my name's John.
Keanu Reeves is actually coming back as Constantine. Trust me when I say this, Keanu returning as Constantine isn't just a fleeting rumor anymore, or just another fan theory. There are talks that a direct sequel to the 2005 Constantine is in active development, and not only Keanu, but director Francis Lawrence will also return in the sequel. If you don't trust me, well, at least trust Keanu Reeves. He's assured the fans many times that he's having talks with the directors and producers. He's not only set for the role, but is also actively participating in deciding the storyline as well. In his interviews, he's even mentioned that he's been reviewing the draft scripts that are sent to him, and he kind of found one that's good enough, but they're apparently waiting for the approval of Warner Brothers. That's where James Gunn, aka the CEO of DC Studios, enters, because he's the man responsible for giving a green signal for the sequel. In an interview with Boba Talks, he mentioned that they don't have the script yet, but Akiva Goldsman is more likely to work on the screenplay. It's for sure that it will be a standalone continuation of the 2005 film, separate from the broader DCU reset happening around it.
This is Constantine. John Constantine.
How a Constantine sequel took nearly 20 years to get this far. 20 years is a long time to wait for a sequel, and Constantine 2 has the kind of development history that makes the gap feel both inevitable and infuriating. The sequel was first announced in 2022, which confirmed Reeves' return as the supernatural exorcist, but the road to even that announcement was a decade-long journey of Reeves quietly pushing Warner Brothers for a follow-up. Once things were in motion, the momentum again got abruptly shaken. Due to the WGA strike, the sequel was put on hold, and director Francis Lawrence was candid about it. He stated how the production faced multiple obstacles. During the strike, Reeves and Goldsman had managed to set the storyline, but they still needed a script to move forward. Beyond the strike, DC also had its own problems, which slowed down the progress even more. It included the leadership changes at Warner Brothers, the issues around the rights connected to Vertigo and Hellblazer, along with the uncertainty about where a dark, R-rated Exorcist story would fit in DC's new agenda. Additionally, the WGA strike was also considered to have slowed down the writing process. However, when the whole drama calmed down, things started to move at the right pace again. Producer Di Bonaventura even praised Goldsman's hard work, and by September 2024, they confirmed the draft was finished, though he admitted that he was almost too nervous to read it, as lots of expectations were riding on it. But here's some behind-the-scenes tea. Peter Stormare, who played Lucifer in Constantine, said to the Direct that another reason for the delay was because Reeves himself wasn't impressed with the drafts that came in, mostly because he wanted the sequel to have a character-driven storyline like the original film, instead of making it into a typical superhero film with too heavy CGI and excessive action scenes. Yeah, I understand it's frustrating to wait, but it's really commendable that the cast and crew are focused on the quality of the film rather than producing the film with a rushed and mediocre plot. The J.J. Abrams Constantine reboot that got scrapped. Before the new Keanu Reeves Constantine sequel became a real priority, the actual plan was to rebuild the character. J.J. Abrams' production company Bad Robot was developing a dark, horror-based Constantine reboot series set in contemporary London for HBO Max. The story didn't follow the typical superhero in a cape trope. It was about this supernatural private inspector who was looking into occult conspiracies. And we're used to this tone, because Bad Robot is known for blending serious horror drama with a polished look and a slow burn fear. Moreover, it wasn't just a standalone show either. This version of Constantine was meant to be the main character, leading a larger and darker supernatural part of the DC universe on Max, which also connected to the Justice League Dark storyline. But that whole vision collapsed along with many other DC projects when the company was re-evaluating what DC content to keep moving forward. Trade reports at the time framed the series got axed partly because the sequel movie was arriving, and it also got caught in the crossfire of a corporate overhaul of cancellations and retooling across HBO Max and DC's TV division. I feel that this was the most promising grounded version of the Constantine experiment, which is only an abandoned what-if chapter in DC's history now. Why does the new movie want to be a truly R-rated Constantine? Constantine became a cult classic because of the way that it leaned into this moody theological horror, great depiction of heaven and hell, and more importantly, for a morally ambiguous anti-hero. For years, fans have pointed to the film's tone and atmosphere as its biggest strength. The film treated the occult as something genuinely dangerous, even though it didn't match the level of horror in the comic. Naturally, the idea of a sequel pushes that idea further. In that regard, Francis Lawrence said that he regrets how the rating played out in the original film. The team aimed for a PG-13 rating, but the studio still slapped an R on it because of the intensity, which meant that they were stuck in a kind of tonal limbo. It wasn't raw enough to fully commit to the horror, but it was dark enough that the cuts and compromises gnawed at him. So now he set the aim that Constantine 2 should be built from the ground up as an unapologetically R-rated film. It should lean all the way into the horror, occult imagery and Hellblazer-esque nastiness that the comics are known for. That doesn't mean that there'll be more gore. It just means that there'll be a deeper, unsettling religious symbolism, a more confrontational look at damnation and free will, and a Constantine who feels even more weary, self-destructive, exactly what the fans have wanted to see on the big screen. Who's making Constantine 2 and what stage is it really at? So let's see where the project stands for now. As mentioned earlier, Keanu Reeves and Francis Lawrence are back as Constantine and director respectively. Also, Akiva Goldsman will be on screenplay duties and producing alongside J.J. Abrams, Hannah Minghella, Di Bonaventura and Erwin Stoff as the executive producers. As for the script, it's pretty much done, but according to insiders, it's going through a lot of changes, so a final script is still waiting to receive a green signal yet. Reeves himself said to Fandango that a new draft of the script for Constantine 2 was ready to be sent to the studio for approval. Despite his assurance, he also hinted that the approval depended on James Gunn and Warner Brothers. As for James Gunn, there were 2 updates received from him last year. He hinted that he might work on an Elseworld story that has a very famous actor in it. If only the screenplay is a masterpiece. People were convinced that he was most probably talking about Constantine. Later, in the Boba Talks podcast, he mentioned that he discussed the film with Keanu, but he hadn't read any script yet. Cast hopes versus what's actually confirmed. I'll be honest, as of now, Keanu Reeves is the only returning cast member officially in Constantine 2. As I said earlier, the creative team, including Lawrence, Goldsman and Di Bonaventura, is confirmed, but there's no such news about the cast list. But that hasn't stopped fans from going deep into speculation territory, because the cast from the 2005 film was genuinely special. If you're a fan, well, you definitely remember Peter Stormare's performance as Lucifer. His barefoot, white-suited look was one of the most memorable villain cameos of the 2000s, and how can we forget how Rachel Weisz's character, aka Angela Dodson, added the emotional touch in the film. It kinda makes sense why people want the OG cast back for the sequel. I think that would add a great factor for nostalgia as well. And Stormare himself added fuel to the fire. Back in November 2020, he posted a picture of his character Lucifer on his Instagram page, along with the caption saying, "Sequel in the works." Of course, the fans were over the moon, but sadly that was just a tease and not a casting announcement. Moreover, it was before the official sequel was even confirmed, but that doesn't mean that it stops the fans from making their dream cast videos on YouTube, pairing Weisz with Reeves for the sequel. However, none of this is based on what the movie studios are actually saying. What we know for now is that the first draft of the script is done and it's been pitched to the studio. The only person that we know for sure is going to be in the film is Keanu Reeves. However, until and unless Warner Brothers or the makers of the film say anything about the rest of the cast through a news announcement or a press release, nothing is entirely confirmed. So basically, everything else about the cast, including Peter Stormare and Rachel Weisz, stands as just something fans are hoping for, or a rumor about the film. when we might actually see Constantine 2. By now, it's very clear that there's no confirmed release date yet. The production is still hanging, and there's no green signal given from their part. And the sooner that we make peace with that, well, the easier it is to digest the truth of where the sequel stands. I won't lie, the spirits were high back in late 2024 because things felt genuinely promising. The cast and crew gave actual updates rather than just mere hopes. Director Francis Lawrence literally went on record saying he hoped to get the cameras rolling after Thanksgiving 2024 and even mentioned that the script was complete. So it was easy to picture a 2025 or 2026 release, or maybe some progress in filming. But now it just seems like that optimism has died down to no updates at all. Instead, the latest update that we got from Keanu was that a new draft had come in and they were waiting to take it to the studio, and how he hopes that the studio likes it. You can sense how that's a very different energy from where they started. From all the information that's available, it kind of looks that the creative teams are still doing the work to get it right. Remember how Gunn said that he would only work on the sequel if it's a masterpiece? Well, maybe that's why the project hasn't cleared the final hurdle and is yet to receive a studio green light. And without that green light, well, no real timeline exists. So here's my honest review. If the studio approves and the production kicks off in the near future, we're probably looking at the late 2020s at the earliest, and that's if everything moves efficiently from this point forward. The cast and crew are also preoccupied with their respective projects, so I'm not even considering the release in the next 2 years, but I have high expectations for the filming to start. Constantine 2 will happen for sure, but for now we're quite in the dark. So that's a wrap for today. To all the fans of Constantine, do not lose hope. I firmly believe we'll get a sequel someday in the near future, so let's keep rooting for the sequel. I'll be back with more such content for you all. But before leaving, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Ta-ta.